Hello, and welcome back to our course of Sustainable Living and Environmental Studies. In our fourth module that we have about personal action and environmental citizenship, this is a module which encompasses all the practical things that we can do on a personal level and what we can do to be good citizens not only for the nation but also for the environment. In our topic today, we shall be studying about personal environment responsibility. What we can do personally to save the environment, to make this a little better for the coming generations. In this, we shall be dealing about the everyday choices that matter. I'm sure the previous modules have given you a deep insight about what's going wrong with the climate, about what's going wrong with water, how we are losing the good nutritious soil, how we are losing the groundwater resources. So once we know about the grim situation that exists today, everyday choices that we make, they definitely matter. We studied about different things that we can do on a personal level. So from as simple as waste management to as big as conducting international sustainable development goals agenda. So there are everyday choices that will matter. There are choices that an individual can do to make this environment a better place to live in. These three pictures are nothing but an illustration of things we know as since we were little kids, but things that sometimes we forget as we grow up amid the noise of the cities, amid the polluted air that we breathe, amid the headache that we get every day because of drinking bad water, consuming bad food, and not breathing good air. So, in this topic today, we are covering the personal environment responsibility, the choices that matter. Before we delve deeper into the little things that we can do as individuals, let's go on a larger scale, a global scale. An initiative of the United Nations Environment Programme and the UN School of Disruptive Design and a contribution to the One Planet Network Sustainable Lifestyles and Educational Programs. The Anatomy of Action is a pathway for individuals to combat climate change and build a more sustainable world by swapping their current behaviors to more sustainable development. Right? Start. The anatomy of action. So, this initiative says that our action will have an impact. Of course, to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's the same in nature. All the laws are coming from nature. The law of energy can neither be created nor be destroyed comes from nature. The law of every action has an equal and opposite reaction is coming from the nature. So it says that the anatomy means the structure. The structure of action is a pathway. Now they're saying, what is action? Why? One of our sustainable development goals is climate action. Now, what does climate action mean? It doesn't mean that you have to apply certain big methodologies or certain you have to apply solar panels, you have to install solar panels at your homes, you don't have to use electricity. No, it's something as simple as turning off the switch of the light when you leave your room. So climate action, this action, the anatomy of this little action is a pathway for individuals to combat climate change and build a more sustainable world by swapping their current behaviors to more sustainable and planet friendly ones. Now, one action could be you're sitting in your room, the AC is on, light is on, the fans are on, and everything is on, and all you are doing is lying on your bed. Same thing your other sibling is doing in his or her room. They're lying on their bed, their own AC is on, their own TV is on, the light is on, the fan is on, And what you do, you see a very nice reel on Instagram and you go to your sibling's room to show him, but you leave all the lights, fans, air conditioners, and televisions on. So that is one action. That could be your current behavior. That behavior needs to be swapped with a more sustainable and planet friendly one. Why don't you both sit in the same room? Why don't you both switch off the television if you have to use your mobile phone? So, swapping this behavior of mindlessness to something more mindful and thoughtful and more planet friendly is climate action. The initiative highlights 5 key lifestyle domains. Now, the example that I gave you is a lifestyle domain. This initiative also highlights 5 key lifestyle domains where an individual can make top level changes to contribute to the global shift towards sustainability. Food, stuff, move, money, and fun. Under each domain, the Anatomy of Action outlines 3 evidence-based actions with the how-tos. So these 5 places, now what's a lifestyle domain? Lifestyle domain is something as simple as what you're doing in your day-to-day life. It doesn't have to involve something very high-tech, very technologically complex, very methodologically advanced, something very at a larger level, something at a very large scale. It doesn't have to involve any of that. It is very personal, it is at a very small scale, and it is something you can incorporate in your everyday routine. It's a lifestyle domain. Now, these lifestyle domain behavioral changes that we can adopt are 5 areas categorically to make it more easier. Otherwise, it can run into 1,000 things that we can do. But to simplify it, to make it a little more fun and easy, it's 5. I'll show you a pictorial representation. Anatomy of action. It says, let's start with food. It's very true that if you eat beef, mutton, and other non-vegetarian items, a lot more energy is consumed from the environment. And if, again, as per the economics rule of demand and supply, if the demand will decrease, the production will decrease, the manufacturing will decrease, and ultimately it's going to help rejuvenate the energy cycle in the environment. So food habits are very important changes that we can incorporate. We can also incorporate something not just in what we eat but how we eat. We can develop organic farming. We can also use organic composting for the same. And also we can shift to healthy food choices, which could be what? Which could be proteinaceous. You could eat pulses. You could eat dairy products. You could eat something as simple as a small dal or sprout. The sprouts are so healthy. The soya bean is so healthy. All those proteinaceous choices are so healthy. We can consume meat. Yes, we can. It's very proteinaceous. But there are so many healthy vegan and vegetarian swaps available. Use all your food. This is something I was personally taught when I was a toddler in my school. Our teacher used to tell us that you are blessed to eat the food that you eat. You must not waste it. It's a blessing of bounty that you are blessed to have this food. So we must not waste food. There are so many people dying of hunger out there. So let's just take small portions. Let's make this a part of our lifestyle to not fill our plates when we see something tempting. Let's not jump into it like devouring animals. Let's take a small portion. Let's then finish it. And if we have more appetite, then we can have some more. So these are something very basic lifestyle changes that we can incorporate. Grow your own, something that we did over here. Second, Stuff. Stuff could be shopping or anything that involves materialistic choices. Expensive leather bags, expensive leather shoes, expensive leather jackets, only to wear it once in your lifetime. So, this stuff, this maddening race of fitting in, it has to go beyond that. You have to do something as fashionable as saving the environment. That is the real beauty. You need to go beyond buying. You need to do a fashion slow down. This is required at a global level. We need to ditch disposables. We need to have something that's a very good trend called a capsule wardrobe. A very famous Indian stand-up comedian has told us about his capsule wardrobe, about how he just had two pairs of pants, two pairs of shirt, two pairs of socks, and that's all he had in his wardrobe. So that capsule wardrobe is also very important. We need to declutter. We saw in a topic of circular economy that how consumer patterns affect the environment ultimately. So this is linked to this, and this was linked to environment. All in all, it's very important. The third thing, move. You need to be active for a small distance. Let's say your house is based in a locality and your mother tells you to go and buy vegetables. The vegetable vendor is hardly at a distance of 500 meters to 80 meter, 800 meters, and you choose to take your bike or your scooty. That's not a very healthy choice to make either for your body or for the environment. You need to move your body, you need to be active, and if it's a far off distance, you need to do something as simple as carpooling or public transport. You need to go cleaner. You need to use fuel efficient vehicles. We need to be very mindful of the steps that we are taking. We need to be mindful of the carbon footprints that we are leaving. Money. Money today is very important, but how much is sufficient? How do we understand the difference between this? So you need to do ethical investments. So when this will be sorted, fossil fuel, the petrol is so costly, cost cutting will happen over here. This will ultimately lead to money that is saved, which can be used in ethical investment. Now, ethical investment over here does not mean that you put it in a bank, you put it in an FD or something of that sorts. No. Ethical investment here means doing something for the environment. Doing something towards putting at my home we have 4 solar panels installed, 4 or 6. We have, that is an ethical investment. Now we could also take a generator. We could also invest into a genset or a heavy inverter that is being used when the electricity goes, but we choose to make a one-time heavy investment of solar panels. That is something we can invest in. That is a healthy investment, something that makes energy positive homes. Now, of course, all these things that are more energy efficient are a little expensive as compared to the other appliances or vehicles that run on usual things, but it's called ethical investment. Not thinking about, like, we make an investment in mutual funds, in SIPs, in shares, or we make something as simple as a fixed deposit in a bank. Why? Because हमें लगता है कि इससे रिटर्न अच्छा आएगा. We will get nice dividends, right? But ethical investment is ऑल्सो हमें आने वाली फ्यूचर जनरेशन्स के लिए क्या छोड़ के जाना है, तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. एथिकल इन्वेस्टमेंट इज़ वॉट यू आर गोइंग टू लीव as heritage. Like you're gonna leave those FDs when you die, you are gonna leave a lot of money for your kids when you die. So this is, if the environment will not be good, how and where will the coming generations spend the physical money? So this ethical investment and creating energy positive homes and creating homes that don't use aerosolic paints, homes that are more earthy in their vibe, homes that are not unnecessarily built, homes that are more energy positive, homes that don't have 1,000 lights, homes that are very environmentally sound. So when you're making home, that's the template home we know about. So when you're building your home, or aajkal these flats that we have, you need to think about your biggest home, the earth. You need to think about the other inhabitants of this earth, the plants, the animals, every little thing that we studied in ecosystem, we studied in biodiversity, we studied in our first module, our second module, where we studied about the various parts of food chain, food web, where tiny little microorganisms, the biotic and abiotic components existed. We need to think about all those inhabitants too. The earth is not solely for a human's usage. It's not something up for grabs where you can just go and exploit all the natural resources available to us. You need to be very mindful, not only for the coming future human generations, but also about the other flora and fauna that's existing. Lastly, fun. Enjoy the journey, stay curious, and choose experiences. Now, this is a very beautiful and very thought provoking part of Anatomy of Action. It says you need to enjoy the journey. Now, through the course, we have studied a lot, many things of environment. Some things you might have also been like, oh, this was so obvious, we knew about this since so long, but knowing about something and having a mindful thought about something is very different. The purpose of this course was solely to bring that mindful action. The purpose of this course was to bring in a change in action. Now, even while you're having fun, it doesn't have to be कि okay, गेड़ी पे चलते हैं. It doesn't have to be like that. You need to be choosing experiences that are environmentally sound, that involve a good climate action, the ones that leave you staying curious about, okay, what next? What can I do to do my bit? I think this course was designed specifically in a way for you to stay curious about the things that are happening around you, about the things that are happening at the global level, about the innovations that many countries are making towards the environment, about the little changes that you can incorporate at your personal levels. So while you stay curious, you can be more innovative. The innovations that we studied in our previous module about putting solar panels on the glass buildings, about installing solar panels across the canal, would have been someone's innovation because that person was curious. What if you are curious, you become the reason of a big, big, beautiful innovation tomorrow? What if your curiosity, what if your experience with nature leads to a good invention that could save the environment? What if tomorrow your love for nature becomes the reason that the earth is becoming a better place? There's where you will enjoy the journey. There's where you will stay curious, and there's where your action will actually have a good impact. Now that we know about anatomy of action, let's study about the little things, the choices that on an everyday basis can make a difference. This list might sound as something as simple as telling a toddler like, okay, don't cry, okay, don't litter, okay, don't throw garbage on the roads, okay, don't do this, that. But the problem is, again, we're not mindful. We know it all. There's a lot of lag between knowledge and action. इस इन दोनों में इतना लैग है कि हम मे बी अभी कहने को कितनी सिंपल बात है, ब्रिंग योर ओन बैग्स, स्विच टू एलईडी बल्ब्स. Now you must be thinking, is this something that someone as of your age and repute is being taught? But पर्सनल एनवायरनमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की हम बात ही नहीं करते हैं. हम ये बात ज़रूर करेंगे कि ओके, यू नो, वोटिंग इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट, वी नीड टू बी वेयर सिटीजन्स, वी नीड टू चूज अ गवर्नमेंट दैट डज दिस दैट. बट एट द सेम टाइम वी आर ऑल्सो environmental citizens. If we are so aware of our legal rights, we are so aware about our constitutional rights, we are so aware about our civic rights, we should also be aware of our duties towards our nation, of course, the world, of course, but most importantly to something that is present all around us, the environment. So this list is as simple as mindful water use, something as simple as repairing instead of replacing. If you can get a small electric bulb replaced without even thinking कि इसका तो भी एक्सपायरी नहीं हुआ था, मैं इसको ठीक करवा के देखता हूँ, but you just remove it and you throw it and you buy a new one. So repairing your old car, if it can be repaired, if it's beyond its useful time and after that it has become a pollution generator only, then of course things must be replaced. But if they can be repaired while they're maintaining the environmental ecological standards, it's always better to repair. This list, again, you can grow your own food, you can incorporate organic farming, you can rethink about fast fashion, means we need to incorporate what is called fashion slowdown, opting for eco-friendly toiletries. Women, while menstruating, use sanitary napkins. Those sanitary napkins also have a good replacement. Things like that should be taught. Things like that should be made government incentivized. Things like that should be accessible to all. Choosing sustainable brands. We need to really think about this, you know. Some very good brands, without naming any, are exploiting nature at a rate which is very sad. But why are they doing so? Because the demand is so much. They have to do it. If we will become conscious consumers, the demand will go down, the production will go down, and then the circle economy thing. We need to measure our carbon footprint, being mindful again. Use public libraries instead of buying books. Choose trains over planes when possible. Be mindful of digital consumption as well. Even this generates a lot of carbon footprint. Now this list can have 1 million, billion and zillion other things that we can do. But अगर हम एक दो चीज़ें भी करेंगे ना, like you need to promise this to yourselves, you need to promise this to your environment, you need to promise this to Mother Nature that you are going to incorporate these little changes every day. These choices that definitely matter. Now before we end this topic, a small reflection time. You need to take up a journal today, you need to take up a diary today and pen down the eco-friendly things that you personally do to take care of the environment and do your share towards environment responsibility. Thank you. I hope you had something to take away from this topic.